Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel for our weekly video. We're 4 months now into the new year, so let's look at what's been going on with the big 3 shooters that were released. Let's see what changes there were, if any, and how they're currently doing. Starting off with Warzone, since the Vanguard integration, I'll have to say they've done a great job at updating Warzone and making it a very solid experience overall. Granted, I still do not like the map Caldera one bit, and continue to play on Rebirth Island, but they have been doing some great changes that have mixed up the experience, which includes fleshing out different areas on Rebirth Island. Weapons feel a lot more balanced than they have been in a while. There is always a meta gun or build, but it does feel like you can get away with some alternative weapons and still do fairly well. That is unless it's a ground loot LMG or DMR. Armor satchels no longer have 8 plates on them from an enemy player, and a fresh satchel on the ground can be looted for the plates. Although I'm not a big fan of the satchels not resetting to 8 plates from an enemy player, I mentioned it before, but in Apex Legends, the armor from a downed player always resets to max health, allowing you to hot swap during intense fights, as a way of rewarding the player for getting that kill. Since this update to the satchels, it has led to more late game fights being far more difficult or easier depending on your team's playstyle. And sure, if you're an aggressive team, you do get rewarded with all the armor and ammo a squad may have, but you also do tend to run short on plates quicker. If they don't want the satchels to reset to a full 8 plates, at least reset them to 3 or 5 plates. Anything is better than just the 1 plate you get per enemy if they used all of them by the time you down them. Moving on to Vanguard itself, well, that's another story. Right now there is a free 2-week trial going on if you wanted to give it another go. I already posted my first and final thoughts on this game back in the beta, and I refuse to try this game ever again. For those who say I shouldn't make my final decision based on a beta that was released just 2 weeks before the game's launched, well, I have news for you. I've been keeping up with other channels that are still playing the game and talking to people who do have the game as well. From what I'm told, shotguns are still the go-to gun for easy kills, which is a playstyle I never run on my own unless I'm grinding for unlocks, and there's little that the game offers that actually interests me. One of the largest factors that I had mentioned to be changed or outright removed before I would consider buying the game were the incendiary rounds that could be used in just about any weapon. They were nerfed in Warzone, but I'm not sure how bad they are still in Vanguard. The tournament-style game mode they made specifically for Vanguard doesn't seem to have gotten any major updates in forever, and Vanguard has one of the worst zombie mode experiences you'll ever find in a AAA game. Topping that off with a 10 attachment system which allows players to make broken builds, there's not really a reason why I would want to play or buy Vanguard. At this point, I would have to be paid to play the game for more than 2 hours. My original thoughts on the game has not changed, at least not to the point of changing my mind. And at the very least, it is getting consistent updates to some degree, but the damage is done for me. I'm just waiting for Modern Warfare 2 at this point. And now to the next game, Halo Infinite. Well, it exists. Halo Infinite, while the multiplayer is free to play, it hasn't received any major updates in far too long. In my first impressions video of the game's multiplayer, I did say there's not much going on that would keep me playing the game for a long period of time. That is until Forge Mode gets released. But the developers, 343, are having some setbacks and that has been delayed as well. Forge Mode would bring so much to the game and let players enjoy Infinite the way they wanted to. Spawning in with battle rifles instead of the pea shooter, building new game modes and bringing back the death runs that Forge Mode was known for. There have been some positive changes and some weapon balancing or rework, but nothing that's noteworthy to a casual player. I have no doubt Halo Infinite will bounce back come Forge Mode, but right now we're just waiting for more content. I know some players are or were expecting a Battle Royale for Halo. I'm not entirely sure how that would work, but 343 does not seem to be interested in reworking the Halo formula. I don't think a Battle Royale is coming anytime soon, if at all. I could be wrong, and I really would not mind being wrong, but there is nothing to convince me otherwise right now. And lastly, Battlefield 2042. I know this isn't a popular topic, but it is part of the big 3 shooters that were released, like it or not. For a few weeks, DICE, the developers, were taking feedback from the community to figure out what players would want to change in regards to the map design. If you've been following my channel for a while, you'll notice I've discussed map design before a few times. So I made my own feedback video discussing what I think may be some good changes. Since then, they've replied and showed what their current plans are on the redesign. In 2042, each area of the map is split off into different sectors. In order to capture a sector, you must capture the areas within it. So first off, DICE is relocating the objective flags to be closer to each other, so there should be less of a mad sprint to get from flag to flag. I had mentioned this as part of my feedback, and it seems many others have as well. This should be a great change of pace and should keep the action more consistent. Keep in mind, a lot of these changes are being made first to the Kaleidoscope map. With the feedback they received, they're also going to rework another map called Renewal. So both of these maps are going to go under the same kind of treatment. To help with getting from place to place, DICE is planning to add more transport type vehicles. This is a fine change. Having some smaller, fast vehicles that could be used to traverse the map is going to be a necessity at some point in time. Even if it's something like motorcycles, just anything that can go faster than 20 miles per hour. In regards to cover and line of sight, DICE is going to change up some of the terrain in the more open areas of the map, so there's more consistent cover in those areas, as well as add new sections of objects and buildings to better flesh out the map and provide proper cover. In my feedback for Kaleidoscope, I mentioned that the two B flag objectives have no real purpose to them. It's just a small, empty section of the park. Well, they're adding a military installment section to the very same area. So now one flag will be infantry focused while the other is vehicle focused, which also does fall within my own feedback. I did mention there should be something more within those flags, like a pop-up medbay, and this military installment should do the trick. I don't believe every flag should benefit infantry players, so leaving the other flag more or less the same is something I can't really complain about. DICE also asked for feedback on changing the player count from 128 players to 64. They still want to try and make the 128 player lobbies work. So their current plan is to change the spawn rate of armored and attack vehicles, as well as limit how many of them there are in any match at any given time. In my feedback, I did say vehicles are usually a problem, but that's mainly due to how the maps allowed vehicles to be effective in just about any location and just about any flag. I'm perfectly fine with seeing less attack vehicles on the map, but I also feel that should mean the vehicles have more health or countermeasures to stay up longer. There is a difference between non-stop vehicle respawns and there being one or two vehicles constantly having to weave in and out due to concentrated fire. Right now, let's just see what happens with this change and how it affects the vehicle combat. Lastly, DICE announced one other change to the Renewal map, which would be removing Sector E. This area is out of the way in comparison to the rest of the objectives on the map, and funny enough, this sector has a facility that could provide cover and be good for infantry combat. I can only assume that they'll bring that facility back into the map somewhere else. This change is to help with the pathing of the map, so players aren't traversing an open field for miles to get to that one objective. And that's everything they've addressed so far. There is no set date for all of these changes to be made. The vehicle spawn rate change will happen in the next update, and the map reworks should be releasing sometime during Season 1, however long that season may be. The next feedback DICE will be looking into are changes to the specialist system. Depending on what questions they ask about this, I may not really participate. I'm personally fine with specialists to some degree. I don't know if they could use both systems at once, or if that would be too much, but someone's gotta be carrying ammo, and someone has to have a medkit. That's really all I look forward to in regards to squad play in Battlefield. I'll have to leave that be for now until we know what they're looking for. And that's the recap for all 3 of these games so far. None have really come out unscathed. Halo Infinite is by far the most polished of the 3, but it also has very few updates and no major changes. Battlefield 2042 is promising a lot of changes, and some of them will be rolled out from time to time, but I feel Halo could regain its audience a lot quicker than 2042 can in my opinion. And well, Vanguard is out there and going through the regular kind of content updates a Call of Duty game would have. It has the least amount of game-changing updates to offer, and I don't see that changing. So that will be it for this video. Thank you guys for sticking around for this long, and until then, I am Mr. Rain, and I will see you next time.